Good morning and welcome to this licensing hearing. The first item on the agenda is the election of the chair, and I understand that members would like to agree that Councillor Cuthbertson chairs this hearing. Is that agreed, members?
Please.
Thank you. I'll hand over to the chair now.
You just need to unmute yourself, Councillor Cuthbertson.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong microphone icon there. So good morning, I'm Councillor Ian Cuthbertson, chairing this hearing, and I have with me Councillors Jason Rose and Michael Nichols, who are also part of the panel. With us today, we will have officers will be Helen Sefton, our Senior Licensing Officer, Fiona Young, who is from Democratic Services, who you've just heard. Margot Budrefet-Chiote is in the background as a Democratic Services Officer, learning the ropes from Fiona. And I have Sandra Brannigan, who I think you can see on the screen, Miss Edwards. And she's assisted by, again in the background, Jodie Ingram, who's a qualified solicitor, who also is acquainting herself with the way that York deals with licensing applications. Can I just say that this webcast is live, it's being recorded, which will be available to view on the Council's website after today. And can I say to everybody, when you're not speaking, please turn your microphone to mute, because we do get background noise and boomy, echoey rooms that aren't really boomy, echoey rooms, but they appear such on the microphone system. So if you can do that when you're speaking, that would be good. Now I've introduced members and officers. Ms. Edwards, have I got the right form of address there?
It's Mrs. Edwards.
Right, fine. One never knows when it's not there in black and white. So, Mrs. Edwards, welcome. And I think you have nobody with you to represent you subsequently. Okay, fine. In which case, we'll move on to declarations of interest from members. Can I invite members to declare any interest that they may have? None from Councillor Rose, none from Councillor Nichols, and none from me either. Now, we need to exclude the press and public for the bit at the end where members do their deliberations. Otherwise, the meeting is completely open in public. I'll just get a note that we're going to consider excluding the press and public during our deliberations and decision making on the grounds that the public interest in excluding the public outweighs the public interest in that part of the meeting taking place in public, if that's not too long and tortuous. And that's under Regulation 14 of the Licensing Act 2003 Hearings Regulations. In which case, can I ask that whether Councillors Rose and Nichols are in agreement with that, please? Yes from Councillor Rose, yes from Councillor Nichols. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to ask for a report on this application from Helen Sefton. Helen, nice to see you again. It's some months since I last met you, but good to meet you, and you will meet in due course face-to-face with Councillors Nichols and Rose. In the meantime, your report, please.
Indeed. Thank you, Councillor, and good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. You can hear the birds cheeping in the background. I've got the windows wide open, so apologies for that. So good morning, everyone. This is an application for the grant of a premises licence made by the Dark Horse Espresso Bar Limited at 147A Bishopthorpe Road. The nature of the application is to allow for the sale of alcohol at a family-run coffee shop, serving artisan coffees along with breakfast and a lunch menu. There will be sharing plates and cakes. With inside dining in a cafe-style atmosphere in the main area. There will also be outside seating, and the menu will also be available as a takeaway. The applicant has not requested to extend the licensable area to the external seating area. The application before you is for the sale of alcohol both on and off the premises from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday, and 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sundays. The premises will be open from 7:30 a.m. each day, and the closing times will be in line with the terminal hours for the sale of alcohol. You have a copy of the application and the plans, and they can be found as Annex 1, which starts at page 17 in the pack. An overview of the circumstances in which entertainment activities are not licensable can be found as Annex 2 on page 41. As part of the application, the operating schedule submitted by the applicant shows that the licensing objectives would be met as indicated in paragraphs 10 of my report, which begins at page 10 of the pack. The premises is not located within the cumulative impact area. I can also confirm that the consultation process for this application was carried out correctly. There have been no representations from any responsible authority. The applicant has, however, negotiated to change some of the terms of the licence and the application operating schedule to encompass further conditions with North Yorkshire Police. Those changes and additions are at Annex 3, which is page 45. As part of those negotiations, the applicant did change the sale of alcohol from 7:30 in the morning to 8 a.m. And between 8 a.m. and 11, alcohol can only be sold ancillary to food. Representations were received from 2 other persons who objected to the grant of this licence, and they stated that the objectives of the prevention of public nuisance and the prevention of crime and disorder could be compromised if this licence is granted. Their representations are at Annex 5, page 51 and page 53. A map showing the general area around the premises is at Annex 6. So this morning, the committee has the following options when making your decisions. So option 1 is to grant the licence in the terms applied for. Option 2 is to grant the licence with modified additional conditions imposed by the licensing subcommittee. Option 3 is to grant the licence to exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates and modify or add conditions accordingly. Option 4 is to refuse to specify a person on the licence as a premises supervisor. And option 5 is to reject the application. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. I'm going to ask for any questions for the licensing manager, first of all from Mrs. Edwards, and secondly from other members of the subcommittee. Mrs. Edwards, over to you.
I don't have any questions regarding that.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to other members of the subcommittee. If you've got any questions, could you please indicate? Councillor Rose.
Yeah, I know there was a comment in the middle about ongoing planning. I just wanted clarity over exactly what the situation is, particularly for those who might be watching this online who haven't read the minutes in full.
So the planning department are a consultee. They get a copy of the application and formally can consult. They have not given us any response. So in terms of planning, I don't know where the planning situation is. Mrs. Edwards is possibly better to answer that during her submission. But as far as we are concerned, planning did not make a representation to this application. Hope that helps.
Mrs. Edwards, do you want to speak about that during your submission?
Yes, I can speak about that during my submission.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Nichols, anything from you? Okay, just one from me about conditions, any conditions during relevant to race days. Are those fully included in the conditions that are being proposed by the authority, Helen? I think we may have a problem here. Oh, Helen, did you get that?
I didn't, sorry, you froze on my screen, sorry.
You froze on mine.
Ah.
I think my question was basically, other than the conditions which are proposed by the authority, are there any other conditions that might apply on race days that you feel you ought to mention at this point?
Let me just have a look what police have agreed. No, I think the police have agreed quite extensive conditions for the premises. So they've not suggested anything additional on race day. So I would have to defer to them as the experts.
Yeah. Thank you. I understand that. Anything from you, Councillor Nichols? Okay. In which case, we'll move on and hear Mrs. Edwards with her submission. Okay.
Yep, fine. Hello, everybody. Good morning. So firstly, I'd just like to introduce myself. Is Laura Edwards. So myself and my husband, Mark Edwards, we actually own and run the Dark Horse Espresso bar, which we do already have an established business, which is a licensed horsebox conversion, which is in the city centre. It's in the Shambles Market area. We've actually been trading there into our 6th year now. So we started in 2017. We've been licensed since 2020. Prior to that, we did have a couple of TENS notices, and then we have been licensed since 2017. I'm the authorised licence holder for the premises, and with it being city centre, it is located in that red zone. And so I'd also like to highlight that I have a proven track record for responsible service of alcohol. I've had no incidents during this time. We are primarily a cafe. We don't get looked upon as being a bar or a pub where we're located. We serve quality coffee, gourmet toasties, homemade and locally made cakes. We're family run, very family orientated. We've got 2 children. My dad even comes in and well, he retired, but he's kind of self-appointed himself. So he comes in and helps me set up in the morning. So I feel like we've created a really warm and relaxed and welcoming atmosphere. We've gained a reputation for our coffee in York. And above everything else, I feel like this is what we're recognised for our cafe and our coffee, mainly our coffee. We've got many regulars that we've built over the years that visit us on a daily basis. And, you know, we're as much a part of their day as they are a part of our day. And this is exactly what we want to capture in the cafe on Bishopthorpe Road. You know, we want to provide like a really welcoming atmosphere to the local residents. We want to be like a neighbourhood cafe, part of their daily lives. And our types of customers, they're not pub goers, they're not bar goers, you know, they're cafe people that might want to enjoy a glass of wine with their lunch, or just come and have a glass of wine and catch up with friends. You know, I kind of vision people sat around a table, one person having a coffee, one having a glass of wine, and, you know, catching up with friends or family. We sort of attract families, walkers, retired people, mums and babies. They're our main clientele. We don't attract groups of drinkers. We're just not that kind of venue, and that's not what we intend to be at all. We just simply want to be a place that people can come and enjoy coffee and quality food. And we want to create an atmosphere where customers can enjoy a glass of wine or a beer, but they don't necessarily have to be in a pub or a bar to do that. It's kind of an in-between, you know, more relaxed atmosphere. It's not a pub atmosphere. So we also, in regards to the planning, it's to do with the outside area. We're having wanting to get a deck built, because the land outside, which is ours, which goes up to like within our boundary, so the boundary separated to the footpath, it's on a slope, so it's too sloped to put the tables and chairs on. So we want to build a deck that comes off the buildings to level it so people can sit there, which we haven't. So that's what the planning was to do with. But we kind of really picture that being a really nice, visually a really nice aesthetically looking area to sit in. And then obviously people sitting outside, it may create some chatter and some noise, but I don't think it'll be too loud. And I also think that I kind of picture this, we get the sun all day there. So obviously it's quite seasonal and weather dependent. People aren't going to be sitting there in winter months or when it's raining. We are quite limited, and we are kind of restrained by the weather and the seasonal times of the year. But we kind of picture people being able to sit in this area with a glass of wine, maybe pop in before they go out to dinner somewhere else on an evening in summer. Maybe there's an Indian opposite us. Maybe they come across and have a glass of wine before they go across with their family for dinner at the Indian, or head into town, you know, into York or onto Bishopthorpe Road, which is just a couple of minutes walk away. So yeah, we think it'd be an ideal place for, say, you know, a local family. They put dinner in the oven, or they put dinner in the slow cooker and think, oh, we've got an hour to kill. Let's pop across and have a drink while dinner's cooking, and then pop and sit and have a glass of wine before they go back home. You know, a real local sort of neighbourhood place to be. I really feel like we've captured that with our horse box, that, you know, people come to us and we know their names and they know us, and they just sit, and it's just a really relaxed atmosphere. Okay, also the outside seating, it's going to be obviously seasonal. We've agreed with the restrictions that the police, North Yorkshire Police Environmental Health, have asked us to abide by, which is to have the outside area packed down by 9 p.m. and totally closed off by 9 p.m. on a Friday and a Saturday evening. Again, that's going to be seasonal. That's going to be in the warmer months and summertime. So, I mean, on a winter's day in December, nobody's going to want to be sat outside on a cold evening at 5 o'clock. You know, it's going to be packed down much earlier. But on those evenings, we really want to capture that the British summertime, and people be able to sit. But we will have it all packed down and closed by 9 p.m. And we'll have all the windows closed, the doors closed, and people will be moved inside. And every other night of the week, it will be 6 p.m. That area will be closed, and well, the whole place will be closed by 6 p.m. every other night. We don't sort of intend to do it, stay open till those times, even in winter months inside. You know, we have a family at home. We don't want to be tied to being there all the time. It's just we want to make the most of those warmer evenings in the summer. And we also do appreciate that it is predominantly a residential area, and we are respectful and mindful of this. As I said, we are parents and we have young children ourselves, but the area itself it does have other businesses around it, and I do think that we will complement these other businesses as they will complement us. You know, there's the Indian Village Spice across the road from us. They're open till 11 p.m. daily. And there's also the Millennium Food and Wine Shop, which is opposite us on the other corner, and they're open till 11 p.m. There's Melosh, the clothes shop next door to us, and a hair salon next to us. And then even on the other side to us, there's a bookbinding business. So I know it is predominantly residential, but there are other businesses that I think we will add to and complement that area for everybody that lives there. Also just like to highlight that there are quite a few other places around us. So there's the Winning Post, which is located 100 metres away from us, and they're licensed till 11:30 p.m. and 12 p.m. on Saturdays, 9 p.m. on Sundays. There's the Workman's Club, which is 0.3 miles away, a 4-minute walk, and they are licensed until 1 a.m. on Saturdays and 11 p.m. every other day. There's also the new development at the Chocolate Works, which is just the other side of us towards the racecourse. And they will have a liquor store, a restaurant, a cafe, and a bar. So I think we kind of tie in nicely with them being there and us where we are. And then further along up Bishopthorpe Road, which is a 2-minute walk away, there's many licensed premises along that stretch of road. So there's Too Many Wines, for example, they're open 10 till 11 and 12 on a Friday and a Saturday evening. There's Angel on the Green, they're open 12 till 11 daily and 12 till 10 on Mondays and Tuesdays. So there are many other places around us that have a similar, you know, or are licensed, but I feel like we predominantly are going to be a cafe. We just want to be able to offer that as an offering on our menu. I'd just like to highlight the 2 objections that we received to the license and maybe try and respond and ease to the concerns regarding the license that they've highlighted. One being noise in the outside area. we have agreed with the restrictions with North Yorkshire Police and Environmental Health that this area, as I said before, would be packed down on a Friday and a Saturday night by 9 p.m. All our windows and doors will be closed to eliminate any noise past this time. And again, we don't intend to open every Friday and Saturday night. It's also like weather permitting, and will be limited by the summer months. And race days, I know they were concerned about race days because we're quite close to the race course. I definitely understand these concerns. We may even close before the race is finished on those days, because it's not something myself or our staff, I don't think, want to have to maybe deal with as patrons coming from the race course. And to be honest, I don't think we're going to be the place they're going to want to stop anyway. I think they're just going to bypass us for the Winning Post pub. The same actually applies for the horse box in the city centre on race days. You know, they don't come to us at all. We see them all around, and they go into pubs and bars. It's not a cafe that they want to be going to. So yeah, it's likely that we will just open during the day on race days and then close before the races finish. Also, there was concerns raised regarding live music. I happened to mention in an interview in the Yorkshire Evening Press that we would like to maybe look at having some live music sometimes. And although we don't require a license for this, I just thought I'd address it because it's something that I like the idea of a background acoustic singer, maybe on a guitar, on his own solo in the afternoons, a couple of hours in the afternoon, like 2 till 4, just playing some nice music. It wouldn't be like a band or live, like loud music. I hate personally going to places where you have to shout to hear each other over the music. It's just something that would just be a bit more atmospheric and bring a nice atmosphere to the cafe. And then I just sort of like to conclude by saying that although we have had these 2 objections, we have had very, very positive feedback from local residents and regulars that visit us at the horse box that live close by and are really excited for us to be opening up where we are. They're really, really supportive of it. And we really want to be just an exciting addition to the neighbourhood, a place that people can enjoy with their friends and family. And that's everything. If there's anything else further question-wise.
That seems like a very thorough submission, Mrs. Edwards. Thank you.
Yeah, before I get a question.
I've only got one comment about retired dads. That's what they do, you know.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm very lucky with him.
Questions from other members
Sorry,
of the
Chair,
subcommittee?
before I get a question, can I run and get a charger? I've got about 4% left.
Sorry, do you want to go and get your charger?
Yeah, I'll be 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yes, okay. Right. Councillor Rose, do you want to outline your
I do have questions, Councillor Cuthbertson, but I'll wait for Councillor Nichols to return.
Fine, thank you.
To save him asking the same one 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
Chair, if I may suggest we just pause until Councillor Nichols returns, so he doesn't miss anything.
That sounds positive then, Mrs. Edwards. So a question from Councillor Nichols at all?
Just one which is sort of slightly touched on in the evening, where you've no plans to serve food. The hope is that people put the slow cooker on, which is a very good idea. Do you do any sort of evening food, or is it just you're going to think?
Yeah, no.
The Indian across the road who don't sell alcohol unless you bring it with you.
No. We intend to have food offering as well. So more like sharing platters, so like a cheese platter or a meat board, bowls of wedges. So we do intend to have food, or just not necessarily people have to have food. They might want to use it as a stop on their way out to dinner, or they can have food if they want to.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Councillor Rose.
Just on that point briefly, obviously there's the potential to put in place restrictions that they can only have alcohol alongside food. So would that be something that is in line with where your thinking's at, that people nipping in for a cafe stop wouldn't necessarily need alcohol, and if they were coming to have alcohol, they could have food from you.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where that would be coming from, but no, I kind of I want people to have the option for both. So, you know, not to come and just have loads of drinks, but just more have a glass of wine or a beer on their way somewhere. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily like to force people to have to eat something as well. It's like having a, I know we're not going for a pub atmosphere, but, you know, people coming in to have a coffee, but not forcing them to eat at the same time. I know alcohol's obviously different, but I kind of vision people not having to be forced to do that, so that they can come and have a drink before going out to dinner if they want, and they're not forced to eat with us as well.
Yeah, and it's similar questions around the times of the alcohol licensing. So I don't know exactly if you want to describe what mornings look like at the moment for you guys, but the 8 a.m. is a relatively early start for a cafe to sell alcohol, and then ditto for the particularly Winning Post opens at 12, Village Spice opens at 5, and then same for the sort of past 9 p.m. evening, perhaps arguably not regular cafe hours in York, and comparators to a late night restaurant and a pub, etc. Perhaps not the most direct comparison.
Yeah, I understand that. So in regards to like the opening times in the morning, we're kind of thinking more of a, you know, a birthday brunch, so that people come and have a breakfast and have a glass of Bucks Fizz or a glass of Prosecco with their breakfast as a birthday treat or a special celebration. So that's why we'd say it has to be ancillary with food. And then also in regards to the evenings, I really like I've spent a lot of time in Australia. My husband's Australian and we lived over there, and the cafe scene over there is very much like what we're trying to capture. And people drink coffee or have a glass of wine in the evening at the same time. People go out for coffee, they meet people for coffee in the evening times, as they do in Europe a lot as well. So I feel like we can still be that cafe in the evening to capture those people, because I feel like that people are changing here and people are wanting to do that. So, you know, wanting to catch up with friends rather than go to a pub, which you have to do at certain times. You want to go to more of a cafe scene and even be able to have a coffee while later in the evenings, not necessarily during the day.
Yeah, certainly my experiences abroad is that there are places you can go that don't sell alcohol at all that you can spend, but I guess that's slightly different to somewhere that does sell alcohol, even with an inflection of you don't have to have it. On the morning brunch approach, what do you currently experience in terms of people going and having a drink at 9 a.m. or equivalent? Is that a commonplace thing, or is that actually a rare part of the?
I think it's a rare part. I think it's just an option on there for people that have got a celebration or a birthday or some special occasion. We do in the horse box, we are licensed there from 10 a.m. Our opening hours are a bit later there because of the nature of where we are. We're in the Shambles Market, and it's actually quite difficult to open any earlier than 9:30 because of all the vans unloading and loading. It can be a little bit troublesome. So we don't open till after the vans have started to move out, just for it's a little bit more comfortable for people to sit. So we are licensed from 10 a.m. then. We do find that people often have a Baileys in their hot chocolate or in their coffee, especially on colder mornings. But it's definitely not a big seller at that time. It's just that option. And I think that the cafe, I just think it'd be nice for people to be able to have that option if they are having a birthday celebration or a wedding or like an engagement celebration, or just some kind of like family celebration.
I have a lot of other questions, Councillor Cuthbertson, still just for clarity, but I'll defer to the other members before Karen, if that's right.
I don't think I've got any questions for Mrs. Edwards. Councillor Nichols, you're finished with questions, are you?
No, I've got a couple more.
All right.
You touched on it about the race date, that you didn't think you'd want to stay open because you worried about the staff. Could you just tell us a bit more about your sort of worries? I mean, I see the race boys in the suits and boots looking quite smart going one way, but not quite smart coming back the other way.
Yes.
Is that your worry?
That is my worry, yes. I just don't know if it's something that we even want to contemplate doing. And not everybody is going to be like that. You're going to get some people that might not have had too many drinks at the races, or might want to just stop in and have a drink. But I think it just eliminates having to deal with that. I think it's very much more than likely that we won't stay open past say 5 o'clock on race days. I just don't think that's something that we want to attract.
You're going to sell alcohol as well. Is that sort of just wine I buy in the supermarket, or have you got sort of artisan wine?
Yeah, so no, we'd like to. We haven't sourced the wine, but we've touched on it. So we would like to use some good local, like some good artisan wine, but also we are looking at using Ainsley Ales, who is a local brewery, and we would like to use his beer, which is served in cans, so that you get the can with the glass, and then you'd have the option if you wanted to purchase some to take home, sealed in the cans. So yeah, we'd like to work with Andy from Ainsley Ales, so that, you know, obviously we're helping another local business, but his beers are very nice as well. We wouldn't have a big offering.
I like it. Cool. Lovely. That's it for me for now.
Following up on those two questions, then I guess one question around the sale of sealed alcohol to take with. Obviously, there's the potential for people to take just one can as they walk out the door, and then and open and drink it immediately, and the impact on surrounding areas. Ditto, particularly if there's takeaway hot drinks with alcohol in them. You know, that obviously would be less likely that they would take that home and store it somewhere.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about any potential restrictions that could be put in place on that? And then just quickly the second question at the same time, which is on the races, particularly if you're potentially considering closing in the evening on a race day, etc. Anyway, would you have any objection to a restriction on that to assuage local resident fears of additional overflow of Knavesmire challenges into the local area?
Yeah, no, we'd be open for that. I'm sort of strongly thinking that it wouldn't be worth our while opening in the evenings anyway. It'd be too much hassle on those race days. Regards to the alcohol to take away, I kind of vision people having the beer while they're sat down and think, oh, that's really nice, I wouldn't mind taking some of that home to pop in the fridge for later. It's not a cheap beer. It's not like if you go into the supermarket and just buying cheap beer to drink, to take to the park to drink. I feel like it's not going to attract that type of person to just come in to do. I think it's more of an artisan beer. And again, with the wine, it's not going to be, a cheap wine. It'll be nice artisan wine that people want to take home to enjoy at a later time. You have that glass with your meal and you think, oh, that's really lovely. Can I take that home for another time, or take that home as a gift for somebody? Or that's definitely what we vision. And obviously we'll be very responsible with who we sell them to and what we sell. There is also Millennium Wines, which is opposite us, which is the bottle shop, obviously, that sells alcohol. So I feel like that's where people are going to go for that kind of thing. Ours is more a vision of drinking it on site and thinking that's nice and I'll get some to take home.
Yeah, and if you didn't serve, people could walk across the street and buy a can from there.
Exactly.
Just very brief, I know I touched on it already, but the extension from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. specifically on the Friday, Saturday nights, are you expecting much trade post 9 p.m? I guess from your perspective, business wise, I'm not sure if you would get much other than alcohol sales after 9 p.m. So
yeah, no, and to be honest, it's something that we're going to test anyway. And if we're not going to get the business, then we probably will just close. If people aren't wanting to come and enjoy coffees or a bite to eat and a glass of wine, and they'd rather have moved on by that stage, which quite possibly they will have, and then we'll address our opening hours once we're open and established and know how our business is going to be running.
Okay. I think that's the end of my questions, and just to add, thank you for a very thorough upfront, which ticked off most of my questions before we started, even if it doesn't sound like it, and also for taking on board all of the police's recommendations, which are very reasonable adjustments as well. So thank you, Councillor Cuthbertson, for indulging that.
Yeah, it was very helpful for Mrs. Edwards. You've now got the opportunity to sum up for 5 minutes if you wish to take it.
No, I think I'm okay. I think I've got everything across that I needed to. Hopefully I've given enough information to everybody.
Okay, can I just check then if other members have got any last minute points of clarification that they would need to pursue? No. Okay. In which case, we're going to close the public hearing now and reconvene in private for our deliberations. And could I suggest, Mrs. Edwards, that rather than hanging on, we'll communicate our decision in writing to you? And I would guess it will be within 5 days, but as far as I can see, there's no reason why it shouldn't come to you very quickly indeed.
Okay, yes, that's no problem. Thank you.
Is that okay? Good.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you for attending today and for your helpful submission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Our technician will now move us into a private area where we can speak privately. Thank you, Mrs. Edwards.
Thank you.